Good morning, everybody. And to everybody in India, good evening, good evening, good evening. We have such a beautiful conversation about to happen, and I hope that you will all stay here with it. Today, it is my great, great honor to be in conversation with my beloved friend and one of the heroes of my life, the great Urmi Basu, the founder of New Light Kolkata, an extraordinary organization in Calcutta that works to protect the children of sex workers and to provide a better life for the women and their children who have been sold into sex work community. Okay, I'm looking for Urmi. Let us see if she's here. You could all help out. If you're not Urmi Basu, do not send me a request to join this conversation. That's how you can be loving right this moment. Hello, Netherlands. Let's see. So I only want to hear from Urmi. Let's see if she is on. Hello, somebody in India. Hi, everybody. We'll just talk among ourselves. Hi, Olivia. Hi, Denmark. Oh, we really are a world community. Hi, Dollface. Let me see if I can send her a message. Let's see. Let's find her. Urmi? Nope, that's not how. Ah, here she is. Okay. Oh, you solved it. Oh, you're in for a treat today, everybody. Oh, one of the great hearts in the world is about to join us. And
Hello,
there she
hello,
is.
hello. Good
Hi,
morning.
Urmi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful. It's so good to see your beautiful face.
Same here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for making this happen. I cannot believe that we are together. Yeah, albeit digitally.
I
So wonderful
know. The last
to
time
hear this.
I saw you, we were in Calcutta together, and we had one of the most beautiful days of my entire life, walking through the community and meeting the women and their children, and then going out to possibly the best lunch I've ever had in my entire life.
A
And
lot of people in Calcutta are going to feel very happy hearing that. If you really think it's the best lunch you've had ever.
So everybody, I'm going to turn the comments off, but before I do, I'd love everybody to just send up a heart to Urmi Basu. And Urmi, do you see all those hearts flying up in the corner of the screen? Those are
I do, and I
each one of
thank everyone.
those, each
I
one of
am
those
sending hi to them.
belongs to a human soul who loves you, and just wanted you to see how loved you are and how many people are here with you today. And everybody, before I shut up the comments, I just wanted to remind you who we're talking to. This is Urmi Basu. She's the founder of New Light Kolkata. And today is Giving Tuesday, and I chose to dedicate my Giving Tuesday to this woman's organization. If you click on the link in my bio, there's a dedicated PayPal link where you can donate. And please stay in this conversation because it will do your heart and your soul and your mind and your whole being a lot of good to listen to this human being speak. She's one of the great, great women that I've ever met in my entire life. So again, if you'd like to donate to New Light Calcutta, to some of the most vulnerable girls and women on the planet being protected by Urmi and her tireless team, you can do so with the link that's in my bio. And now I'm going to turn off the comments. Hello, Taiwan. Hello. We've got people from all over the world joining us today. And stay with us because you're in for something beautiful. Okay, I'm going to turn off the comments so we can just focus on each other. Hi, Urmi.
Hi.
Hello, my friend. How are you? I'm not even going to get into yet how your COVID has been because I know that you've been in a very difficult situation in Calcutta. But I wanted to just begin at the beginning. And I know your story, and I don't think very many people who are watching us right now know your story. And you have one of the most remarkable origin stories I've ever heard about what led you to become an activist and a passionate defender of the vulnerable of the world. And I'm wondering if you can just set the scene for us and tell us about your childhood and where you grew up and who your parents were, and just start with that, and then we'll take it from there.
I was born to a family of professionals. My father was a doctor and mom a healthcare professional. And I was born in Kolkata, which is my hard city, and I was educated here. It was a very kind of an loved and idyllic childhood, but things became very difficult when I was 9 years old, because that's the time when this city and this part of the country was going through a major political turmoil. And the word that we hear so very often these days, Maoist and Naxalites, that's the time when that movement had started. It started with good intentions, I believe, and then became something that disrupted our society like nothing else has. The political situation, the system broke down completely, and many, many young people, brilliant people, lost their lives. They lost their ways and they lost their lives. So on a March morning, 1971, 6th of March, I remember the day very, very clearly, while my father was in his clinic, a young boy was being taken away by another rival gang to be killed. The news reached my dad, and he ran out of the clinic and he intervened. He stood up against this big mob and saved the boy. My mom ran out after him, and in a few minutes, the mob turned at my parents. Our house was burnt down. My father was stabbed in 3 different places on his body. And my mom went out in search of help. For 7 hours, we didn't know whether she was dead or alive. The house being burnt down, it was very often when I these days see places on fire, that's all I can think of. And that morning, I knew that when you were confronted with a challenge, with a dark moment, you had to look for courage inside. Help was not going to come to you from anywhere else. Mm. So in later, seven hours later, we reunited as a family. I lost you for a second.
No, I'm right here. Urmi, can you just remind everybody for 1 second how old you were when this was happening?
I was 9 years old.
So you were a child of 9 years old. A mob was outside of your house. There was a riot happening. And yes. a young man was being pulled into the mob to be taken away and killed. And your father risked his life, knowing he was risking his life, to run outside and save this young man from the mob. At which point the mob turned on your family, stabbed your father, burned your house to the ground. All of this happening, I'm assuming, in immediate time, like an hour, half an hour. Like it must have just been your life in 1 second turned. Yeah.
Yes. And we were later on. We were separated for about 7 hours because some other adults were looking after me and my younger brother. Right. So we had no idea whether my parents were still alive. But that's the day I realized you can actually fight fear. And there is nothing to fear, because the moment between being alive and not being alive is it's just so short, and it's just so fragile. And we all need to stay present to that. But every moment that we have is an extra. It's a bonus. It's a gift that we receive from our life, from life itself.
I just find this to be I wanted to begin with this story because this is who you are, Urmi. And many people might have gone through an equally traumatic experience. And perhaps the conclusion that they would have come up with, especially a child, the conclusion might not have been, there's nothing to be afraid of. The conclusion might have been, there's everything to be afraid of. The world is terrifying. Your family can be taken from you at a moment's notice. Your house can be burned to the ground. I'm a helpless child in the world. And yet, this is the amazing divine spark of Urmi Basu, is that your interpretation of it as a 9-year-old child was, there's no reason to be frightened because everything can be taken away at a moment's notice. It's all so fragile. And your interpretation was, just don't be afraid. Live your life. Every minute of life is a gift. And I find that to be just one of the most incredible stories I've ever heard. And your entire life has proven that you've never made your decisions based on fear.
That is why I like your your take on fear so much, that let fear be with you, but let it be in the back seat.
Yeah.
Don't let fear drive your life. And that's what I keep sharing with so many of my young friends when I find them, facing challenges and not being able to move forward. And it's fear that holds us back. You could say this interpretation came to me because I'm an incurable optimist, and I always say, okay, today it's kind of cloudy, but well, there's going to be sunshine tomorrow, and there always is.
Urmi, tell us what the next, your father did survive, but your family was never the same again after that, right? Did you move to another part of I can't remember then exactly. Remind me exactly what happened.
Many of my father's friends and political leaders, they came and requested my father to move and to, kind of go away in hiding, and he refused. And he said,
Okay.
this is where I live. This is where I raise my family. This is my life. This is where I treat people, heal people. So I'm not going away anywhere. And those, the people who came to harm me, I'm sure they would one day find.
Just waiting for a connection here, everybody. We are going from India to New Jersey. Everybody can use this moment to just breathe. I know you need to. Okay, we've lost her. I'm going to see if I can get her back. Oh, so taking that first chapter of the story, everyone. One of the things I think is so, I have to turn the comments back on. Hang on, here we go. Okay, Urmi, if you can hear me, see if you can join us again. Thank you so much for the beginning. Here she is. Okay, great. She should be coming on any minute. Thanks for the hearts, everybody. There
I
she
do. I'm
is.
sorry. I
Oh,
lost a few minutes, a few seconds here.
it's a miracle that you're in Calcutta and I'm in New Jersey and we're having this conversation at all. And this reminds me to take a break and to suggest to everybody that we haven't gotten yet to the part of the conversation where Urmi will speak about the truly extraordinary work that she has done for decades in Calcutta with, I would argue, perhaps arguably the most vulnerable population of girls and women on the planet, women who have been sold into the sex trade, and the children who are born into their brothels, and the work that Urmi has tirelessly done for these women and their children. Extraordinary work. Today is Giving Tuesday. I've decided to devote this day to Urmi and to New Light Kolkata. There's a very easy way that you can join us in giving. You can go to the link in my bio and you can make an easy donation on PayPal. The smallest amounts of money, and we'll get to that later in the conversation, can do the most extraordinary amounts of life-saving and life-changing in Calcutta, thanks to Urmi and her tireless team. So I'm going to turn the comments back off. Send up one more burst of hearts to Urmi, everybody, so she can see the love that's coming in from all over the world. And now I'm going to turn the comments off again and let her continue with her extraordinary story. So I'm beginning to get the impression that perhaps your courage and your compassion were a little bit learned from your parents as well, because your father, who by the way had already been stabbed 3 times in trying to save a young man, it was suggested by those who loved him that it was time for him to get out of town and save himself. Again, no one would fault him for doing that or for taking his family to safety. And he's like, nope, this is my community.
Yeah.
Calcutta is where I lived for however many generations. I'm not leaving. This is the community that I serve. I'm beginning to see how you became to be who you are.
Absolutely. And it probably goes back a generation. That's starting with my grandfather. who was a British military officer, and he resigned his commission to join Gandhiji in his struggle, freedom movement, and later on set up a school for Dalits in our family homestead in Nagpur, which is now in Maharashtra. And I think people say we inherit things from generation to generation. What I probably have inherited is a bit of courage, and to know that courage has to be used. You cannot hold on to it for yourself. That's meant to impact other lives, to change, to show direction, and to leave a world a little better than we found it.
So, for those of you who don't know, Dalit is the caste term for what we would call, what you might know as the untouchables. And so this is a very good demonstration, by the way, to Americans who are in a moment of great social unrest. This is what allyship looks like. This is what real allyship looks like. Her grandfather resigning his post with the British Army to come and work for Gandhi. You can't demonstrate better allyship than that in terms of choosing the correct side of history to be on, without a doubt. So, so you're growing up in this family, and your father stays. And isn't there a story about some of the young men who had attacked him coming at some point to ask for his forgiveness? Is there? Can you tell us that story?
2 weeks later, after this incident happened, while we were still recovering from the shock, we were living in other people's homes, and my parents' friends were bringing us food because we really didn't have anything. And my father lost his chamber, all his collection of books. And what missed most from that is a portrait of Angela Davis that used to hang in my father's chamber.
Wow.
I get goosebumps just even thinking about it. And if anybody were to ask me, what from that incident you miss most, I would say it's that image, that portrait. It was a black and white picture of her. And now when I've seen her, and it's like I had an immediate connect.
Wow.
I'm talking about 50 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
I've had an incredibly privileged life. I've been born to my parents, and maybe that's what propels me to do the work I do. So the group came and they apologized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And later on, I remember my father even helped them to find jobs, and it was a way of showing people that compassion and forgiveness are virtues that can change the world. Mm. And I learned a lot from that. I think that's what my life is based on.
And how did you begin? So you got a degree in sociology, and then how did you begin your work in the red light district of Calcutta? What was the origin of that work? And I know you started New Light with some ridiculously tiny amount of money, like
5,000 rupees.
5,000 rupees.
About, I think maybe about $60 today.
$60. Okay, great. And that was the beast. So take us back to the beginnings of how that community came to your attention, and how and where that your mission began and when.
So my father, even though he was convinced that he would have a very long life, was diagnosed with cancer 2 years after this incident, and then passed on at the age of 51, leaving my mom to raise three siblings. I took my first degree in sociology, but by the time I went to college, I already a lawyer, or I did not want to do various things. But one thing I was certain about, that I wanted to be in a profession where I could be with people and just be of service. So after completing my first degree, I went to the Tata Institute to do a master's in criminology and correctional administration. Mm-hmm. While I was doing my internship at the Commissioner of Police office, I got an opportunity multiple times to go and visit the red light district. And that left an incredible, incredible impact on me. It left me kind of, floundering. I did not have any resources. I did not have the training. I didn't even know what I could have done, where to begin. So it took about 15 years of my professional life for me to be at a point when I knew, yes, this is the moment. And that happened in 2000. In the year 2000, I found myself walking down the lanes of Calicut, and the images that I saw did not leave me with an option not to do anything. I saw small kids running around, young women at the doorway, images that you are so familiar with, having walked down there exactly the same way. But it was 20 years ago, so the situation was that much more dire and grim. I knew something had to be done, and it was a project. My work started on the basis of just aspiration of giving somebody an opportunity. And I think we all in our lives can take actions that would create opportunities for people that we meet, people who are around us, our family, our friends. So opportunities is the key word here, because the red light districts of various cities and the towns and suburban areas of India have been there for eons. Everybody knows about those places, but people rarely go in there and try to change the situation.
Can you tell us what you saw? And I know that you mentioned that I've been to that neighborhood with you, but I know that that neighborhood, thanks to you and your team, is a much more elevated than it was 20 years ago, and it was pretty harrowing what I saw. So can you describe the conditions in which these women were enslaved, and in the conditions into which these children were being born, and the prospects for those children?
The approach to our office, I call it the office or the shelter, is it's a 4 feet wide lane, and with doorways on both sides, doorways to dwellings that are about 8 feet by 5 feet in dimension. And that's all the space the women have to cook, to clean, to raise their children, and to nurse their ailing family members, and everything that they do. That's all the space they have. And very often those spaces are not owned by them. Those rooms are rented out sometimes on hourly basis, or sometimes they can rent by the week, and they have to pay for everything else as well. Like if they have an electrical fan, or if they put on a light switch, a light bulb, they have to pay for those things additionally. Children in those kind of situations have absolutely no possibility of attending school, or even if they go to school, who's going to help them with homework? If the mother is working till 4 a.m., who's going to get up in the morning and pack their lunchbox or prepare something for them to eat before they go to school? So I saw young children running about, some of them, young teenagers going out buying cigarettes, and sometimes even bringing bottles of alcohol, and just being left to their own devices. There was no safe place. And young girls being seen by the clients, that's what I singularly believe, that's what prompts customers to seek out young girls. You don't want something that you don't see. So later on, that became a major operational strategy for me to remove young teenagers from Calicut and from other red light districts, so they are not visible to the clients.
And tell us how you started. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Young children sleeping under the beds, where on top of which the mother would take on a hand. that was the most horrific experience of my life. And having come from a family where I was given just so much love, I couldn't believe that the mother did not have the possibility of keeping that child safe, protecting the child from that experience.
And in case anybody is tempted to even remotely judge the women who were in the sex trade, can you give us a little bit of information about how they end up there?
Most of the women that I have come across, almost 95% of them, have been sold into prostitution. Whether they were brought from the villages or they were trafficked from other states or across the border from Bangladesh and from Nepal, all of them have landed up in sex trade in Kolkata or in other parts of the country because probably they trusted somebody who was offering them a job, somebody who was offering them an escape from the extreme poverty that they experienced in their villages. So it would be very, very wrong to say and judgmental to say, oh, why can't they move? Why can't they leave doing what they do? And why can't they seek out another way of living, get another livelihood? It's a trap. It's a trap which is with there is no hatch to it. That opens automatically and easily.
It's designed to be a trap, and it's a design that has taken centuries to perfect by very bad people, and there really is no way out. And I would suggest that if anybody wants to learn more about this, Urmi is featured this month in a very extensive National Geographic article that's about the trafficking of girls and women especially in India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. A lot of these girls are taken illegally over the border from their very poor villages in Nepal and Bangladesh. And so the other part of the trap is that they're not legally in India. So if they were going to run away, where would they run away to? They're often illiterate. It's a trap, and then you explained to me when I met you in Calcutta earlier this year, it's a multi-generational enslavement. The daughters who are born to these women who are forced into the sex trade, there's no other option for what they could possibly become in their life. And so it becomes a multi-generational trauma. And this is where you and your team, so bring us back to, so that's the setting. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware. This is not a choice that anybody is making. This is not a lifestyle choice. This is modern day human slavery. Let's bring you back, Urmi. Hello again. Lost you there for a moment. And it's a trap that's been, as I say, it's a trap that's been deliberately refined to be a trap, to make sure that nobody can escape it, because it's very profitable for the people who use those bodies for profit. And so you saw this, you were working in that community enough to understand what was going on. You had your vast fortune of $60 and you had your
which was ably supplemented by an Australian friend of mine, again, somebody who was a social worker working in victim support, by another $60.
Oh, so we're up to $120 now that we're going to begin this empire of compassion with. By the way, everybody, if you'd like to contribute to Urmi Basu's incredible mission and to New Light, I'm just going to keep repeating that there's a link in my bio for a PayPal account. And as we'll discuss, the smallest amounts of money can do extraordinary work in this community. So, okay, so you've got you and your Australian friend and $120, and it's the year 2000, and you're like, something has to be changed here. And how did it begin, and what did you start doing?
I kept on going back to Calicut time after time and began a conversation with the women because I was an outsider and there was no reason for them to believe me. And I'm sure many other people had gone there before and left them with promises. So I just said that I want, like you, I want the best for your children. Would you be willing to participate in a program where some creche And of course, not having any money, I could not hire any professionals. I couldn't consult with, statisticians and people who do these development studies and advice as to how you can, you have to have a sustainability plan for 25 years. Well, I don't know where I'm going to be in 25 days or 25 hours. So sustainability plan is something I always take with a pinch of salt. Anyway, so then I convinced him that the kids would be better off being in the care of other adults. And those adults meant women who had already exited from sex trade or were older women. And for them, livelihood was renting out their rooms to younger women and taking that money and surviving stipend of some sort, and they could take care of children of the women who would be working in the evening. One thing led to another, and today, 20 years later, we have 7 shelters, and we have wonderful residential homes for girls, and they are all young adults, which is, it's not something that I had ever envisioned. I had no idea how this whole thing would unfold. It was an aspirational project, and it was an audacious project. I just felt I needed to do that. Went to the edge of the cliff and flew.
When I was in Calcutta and you gave me that beautiful party that you and the women and the girls had for me, which was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, was walking through those alleys, and then we come up on the roof of your building and everybody's holding signs that say "Big Magic" and "Eat, Pray, Love," and it was the most joyful community. And I was able to meet that day the girls who were daughters of women who had been sold into the sex trade, and several of those girls, because it's been 20 years, are in college now. And I'm wondering if you can tell me about some of those young women, because we're beginning to see really the fruits of that 20 years of difference between the lives that those girls will live and the lives that they would have been doomed to live.
I would specifically tell you the story, remind you of Ruma and Mary, the girls who stood up and asked you questions. I was myself very impressed that they could just get up in a gathering like that and start a conversation. And I'm sure both Ruma and Mary are watching this on Instagram. So that's from a generation, from mothers who were completely illiterate, who even today cannot even sign their names or have no alphabet recognition. These girls, because they got the opportunity of education and they have empowered themselves to a level that tomorrow they could come on this conversation with you. So that's the transition. I would wait to see a day when Ruma and Mary could sit here and talk about their lives. And it's not been easy for them either, because there are so many them to remain in that situation, because it benefits, all the stakeholders. If we take away their future prospective source of earning, they're bound to feel nervous. And the way they can break these girls is by telling them, you are worthless. You are born to a woman who's a sex worker, and you have no value. Nobody is ever going to get married to you. But that's a conversation I don't usually have with them. When we talk to the girls, me and the team, we tell them that you are capable of doing everything. And that's a conversation. We bring stories of women around the world who have had it extremely difficult, and then they have risen from the ashes and done something with their lives. So this is what the story is. And today, as we speak, we have more or less 65 girls who have graduated from our girls programs, and hundreds of kids who have graduated from New Light program.
I want to say hi to the two young women who you mentioned. I will never forget you. I will never forget the challenging questions that you asked me. I was so, don't ever stop asking those challenging questions. You put me on the spot. And that's what you need to do in order to defend and claim your own life. The confidence that you mentioned that it would take to stand up in that room and make very demanding, very, very powerful questions. I'll never forget that moment. And I hold you in the highest regard. I just got a little emotional remembering that day. It was such a beautiful day. Oh. The next thing I wanted to say is that one of the guests who I've interviewed recently in the last few months is a woman named Dr. Tara Rai Trent, who wrote a book called The Awakened Woman. And I'm just thinking of her and the story that she told about rising out of poverty from Zimbabwe to end up getting her doctorate degree and going back to teach. And her mother, who was illiterate, said to her when she shared her dream of, after already, by the way, having had 3 children, because she was married off at the age of 14, when she was already 3 children before the age of 20. So by the time she was going off to college, she already had 5 kids and no education at all. And she managed to get herself a high school degree. It took her almost 10 years just to do that. And then she got her bachelor's, and then she got her master's, and then she got her doctorate. But her mother said to her, the transformation that will happen in you will be resonated through generations to come. It's not just your life that will be transformed. It's generations to come from you. Everyone who comes out of your womb will be transformed by the transformation of your life. And her mother also said when she shared her dream, your dream will have more power if it's tied to the betterment of your community. God and the universe will be more likely to grant you your dream if your dream isn't just about you, but also about bettering your community. So I just wanted to share that because she just came to mind.
It could not have been more significant than this during the COVID. The kind of leadership positions that all the young people have emerged with, have been extraordinary, because I never expected them to do what they did for their community. They took charge of how the relief system would work, who would get it first, and how to package it, how to deliver it, and all while maintaining such strict protocol, protection and safety protocol. I was blown away to see this community, claiming its position in such a brilliant fashion. And Mary is just a few months away from finishing her university degree, and then is planning to go and do her master's studies in business.
Mary.
So it's a big deal.
Urmi, can you catch us up? So even if your story, even if, let's say, there had been no pandemic and no COVID, I would still have wanted to use my Giving Tuesday to introduce my followers to you and to your work and to New Light. And once again, everybody, if you want to use your Giving Tuesday to donate to Urmi's organization, New Light Kolkata, there's a direct link in my PayPal account. And she is also, if you want to read more about this, the current issue of Nat Geo has a really in-depth article about the sex trafficking trade, where they also suggest that you donate to New Light and to Urmi. So it's not just me telling you to do this. This is, she's very highly regarded all over the world. So even without the stresses of the pandemic, this was one of the most fragile and vulnerable communities in the world. Can you tell us how COVID affected that neighborhood and what you've seen happen to those families? And India, of course, has been particularly singled out by the coronavirus. It's been brutal for the entire country, but as always, it is the most vulnerable population who suffers when disaster strikes, because they're always one meal away from not having anything to eat on a good day. So could you just let us know what you've seen and what you need?
The lockdown was put in place on the 24th of March in India, and nobody actually understood anything about it. People had no prior experience of what lockdown would really look like. So from one day to the next, everything stopped. The trains stopped, the buses stopped. The shops were all shut. So, and of course, before the lockdown was put in place, many of the people who come in as customers, they went back to their homes, because Calcutta has a huge migratory labor population, which often goes and takes, they get sex for payment. So that's how the whole industry operates. So as soon as the lockdown happened, the girls lost their customers, and which meant they had no money. They had no money to pay room rent. They had no money to buy food. They had no money to buy medicines. And there was like the whole community felt, trapped and frozen. And having gone there on day 6, I sensed such a deep sense of depression. People had no energy, and it was like as if they had no will to move anymore, and that was the saddest thing. On top of that, the constant fear of any one person coming in with the infection and not knowing how many people were going to get infected. Surprisingly, all the mothers who constantly keep on telling us, I want to take this child away for the weekend, they called up and they said, please keep my child at the shelter. I know she or he will be the safest at the shelter. So it was for us keeping about 120 kids safe, and all the adults and the entire community. We became the team. New Light team became like the the police force, going from door to door and telling people, no, you cannot step out. Whatever you need, you tell us. We'll bring it to your doorway. If you need any medical help, tell us. This is what we can do. These are the services we can offer. And it was a community on salvation. It took a fair amount of time for the government to work out the system through which relief could reach them. But I'm extremely, happy, thankful to have been New Light, to have been the first group to bring relief. And when we closed, we were counting the meals served. We have served more than 850,000 meals. And it continues. People have been generous, people have trusted us, and people also kind of passed on the responsibility to groups like ours, people who were already doing this work. But this relief work has been unlike any other. 2 months later, we also had the super cyclone Amphan, which wiped out large parts of South Bengal.
And the geography of Calcutta is such, and in that neighborhood, when the monsoons come, those tiny little rooms that those women, those 8x5 rooms that those women live their lives in, service their customers in, raise their children in, they tend to be submerged by water anyway. So even under the best of circumstances, I can't imagine what a cyclone would have done to that neighborhood. I'm sure
this is like the inundation is a regular thing from the month of July till September. That entire area gets submerged for twice a day for 3 or 4 days during the full moon and the new moon cycle. So this is something people have to live with year in and year out. Most of the beds, if you peep into those rooms, are raised on 5 or 6 bricks. So the things are kept under the bed, and as the water rises, they lift up the things and stuff everything on top of the bed. Not sleeping for 3 or 4 days, because it happens twice a day. It's an existence that nobody should be in that place. It's not a just world if we let this continue.
Urmi, how can we help you? How can we help New Light? And if people choose to donate today, and again, the PayPal link is in my bio. Tell us where that money will go. I remember my heart breaking at the small amounts that are needed to give such relief to people, and I'm wondering if you could help us understand that a little bit.
See, $1 feeds somebody the whole day. Yeah. $200 buys medical supplies for somebody who's critically ill. $400 keeps a young adult in school, in university degree for the entire year.
Did you hear that, everybody? For $400. And I know $400 is no small amount of money, but this is a university tuition for an entire year for a young woman who is a young woman like Mary, like some of the young women who I met who are breaking generational enslavement of women and earning their agency and their power in the world to transform everything around them for $400 for an entire year of university education. I know that when we think about giving, we're always like, is there going to be an impact? Is there going to be there will be an impact. If donating to New Light, there will be an impact. I can assure you of that. Absolutely. Urmi, I want to ask you. I want to go back to you and to the light that you radiate. I remember that when I first met you in Rajasthan at that women's conference, and you were just like, I always say, light never lies. It's one of my rules. Light never lies. You can see it. You can see it in people, and it can't be faked. It really can't be. And when it's there, I'm always drawn to it. And I always, whenever I see that in people, I'm always like, I want to know her. I want to know her. And I want to know where, and this might be a spiritual question. It might be an intellectual question. You can answer this however your soul answers it. Where do you get your light? And how do you keep your light burning? Especially given all that you've seen. You have not burned out. 20 years of very grueling, sometimes very heartbreaking work in one of the most vulnerable populations in the entire world, and you still shine, and you shine for everybody. I spent time with you, and I see that light does not seem to go off. So tell us about it, and what practices do you maintain to keep that? Where do you find your strength? And where you're about to launch. I'm going to bring Tiffany on later to tell us more, but you're about to launch a series of conversations that you're going to be hosting called Women Inspiring Women, and let us know where your inspiration comes from and how you shine so brightly in this sometimes very dark world.
I think I have tried always to create a pool of compassion within myself, because that's where it begins with. If we don't have compassion for every sentient being around us, we'd not be able to get this work done, or anything for that matter. If I see a seed germinating, to tend to it with compassion, or even to cook food for a friend, which we term as love and affection, but I think at the base of it is compassion. This is something that I have worked upon in my life. I was raised by atheist parents, so my spiritual orientation was entirely my work, and something that I also was guided to by my teacher of comparative religion. We used to have a class in school, and I was in class standard 8 or 9, and we had this teacher who told us about taught us about different religious practices. And what I came away with from that was how we need to value human beings around us. So no matter who it is, if I see divine power in myself, a blessing in myself, it has to be present in the next person as well. Mm-hmm. So even for people who are doing terrible acts, we need to look at them with compassion. And as far as doing this work is concerned, having been a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, I developed a sixth sense about it. I walk into a space and I know that I can sense it on my skin. And I know it in a crowd, I know it in a room, I know it in a park, I know it in even sitting in my car and as another car comes and stops in the traffic. That's what keeps me going. The justice that I missed at that time, I want to make that available for all survivors. And it's been my experience that most unlikely of people have walked up to me and have shared. I think I'm privileged with that sharing. I am strengthened by that sharing. My inspiration to continue to do this work comes from the stories, the innumerable stories of, abuse and violence that we hear time after time. And then friends like you.
Oh, Urmi, it is such an honor to be your friend, and such a
and mine too. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe that our paths have crossed and that we have found convergence in this way.
I'll just to let everybody know, because I love this kind of thing, how our paths crossed. So earlier this year, I went back to India for the first time in 12 years. I've tried to go to India many times over the past 12 years, but even so far as having tickets and everything planned. And then each time, 3 times I attempted it, and each time there was an emergency in my life or the world where I had to cancel. And then I was so grateful that I got to go earlier this year in January and February. And I want to just share about intuition for a moment, because I know that you're guided a lot by intuition as well. What you just said about knowing, being sensitive to knowing when somebody has been the victim of violence or abuse, knowing when somebody needs that care, and responding to that, and trusting that intuition, and trusting all of the intuitive clues that led you 20 years ago with nothing more than $60 to say, one step at a time, this is the work that I'm here to do, and obeying that, right? So much of what I try to teach people is to obey that, even when it doesn't make sense, even when there's no long-term, but how will this possibly work? This can't possibly happen. I was at an event for a book event of mine, and I ran into an old friend who had moved from New York to California, and we were talking, and Jenny, if you're listening, hello. I said, what are you doing? What are you up to? And she said, well, I'm about to go to India for the first time. My friend Tiffany is the publicist for this newly founded women's conference that's happening at this 500-year-old ashram in Rajasthan in January, and I'm and that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go. And she said, what are you up to? And I said, oh, I'm doing that too. And she said, really, you've heard of it? I said, no, I just heard of it right now. And I just got a full body yes. This is a thing that like a full body yes is a gift from the universe that says, do that. And I said, I mean, really, it was that. I said, oh yeah, I'm going to that. And she said, I didn't know when it was. I didn't know where it was. I didn't know who it was. And then I reached out to the organizer. She gave me her information and I said, can I come to your workshop? I would love to teach an all-day creativity workshop, which ended up being so beautiful because it was the most diverse group of women I've ever taught to, including economically diverse. There were women taking that workshop that day who were illiterate, and I've never taught to a room with women who couldn't read or write. And it's a writing workshop, but we did it. We managed to make it work. And yeah, I just follow my full body yeses through life. And because I followed that yes to Rajasthan, which is not even where you're from Calcutta, and we were both freezing cold in the bitter cold winter of Rajasthan, bundled up. I met you and saw your light, and then followed you to Calcutta, and we had that extraordinary experience. And now, much to my joy and honor, I'm able to introduce you to my followers, who I can say, without hyperbole, are the most generous and loving and kind corner of the internet that you're ever going to encounter. So to me, this just feels like the best introduction in the world.
Thank you. And I'm sending out that love to everybody who's ever picked up any book by Liz. She's the one who makes this magic happen. And I must say, I am her. I can claim to be her biggest fan, but I'm definitely part of that big group of people who are her biggest fans.
Oh, I love you so much. I'm going to turn the comments on because I just want you to just have a moment to see the hearts and to see the love that's coming to you from all over the world. I think sometimes people like you get so busy giving love that maybe you're not aware of how much of it there is for you coming back. So that pile on of hearts that you see, and everybody is just this is just people from all over the planet saying how much they love you and admire you, and I am your biggest fan, without a doubt. So Urmi Basu, everybody, if you want to join the incredible work that Urmi does for the most vulnerable female population in the world, the women who have been sold into sex slavery in Calcutta, and their children whose lives are being changed. Some of them are watching today, whose lives are being changed through education and through love. There is an easy button in my link where you can donate to New Light. And as we said, $1 will feed a person, $1, and $400 will send a girl to college, and that will truly change our world. So Urmi, thank you. I can't wait till I see you again in person. Who knows when people will get on airplanes again, but you know that I'm never going to stay away from India.
The gypsy that you are will take you, will see you, in different parts of the world. And there's just so much more that we are waiting to hear from Liz. Yeah.
Thank you. And one thing I'd like to ask is, to me, you are a spiritual leader, and I'm wondering if you could just offer a blessing to everybody who's watching, because I know that for many people it's been a very hard time, and you carry such a lantern of hope. I was wondering if you could share that with us.
I send out deep sisterhood and courage for you to get through the most difficult of times, and know that there is love to be found at the longest journey that we make, no matter how many days, no matter how long it is, and that we all are blessed by divine grace. I want that for all of you, and pray for everybody's health and safety.
Thank you, everyone. This is Urmi Basu, Urmi Basu. Somebody was asking how to spell your name. and her organization is called New Light Kolkata. There's a link to donate, and I'm going to very sadly say goodbye to you right now, but I'm also very happy because now I get to bring on my friend Tiffany for just a moment, who works with you, and she is a fire plug. She is a spark plug of energy, and she is the person who introduced me to you, and she's going to be helping you host an ongoing series of conversations called Women Inspiring Women, talking about activism and the work that women can do in the world. And that will be hosted on the New Light Kolkata Instagram account. And I'll put a link to that when I post this permanently. But I'm going to bring Tiffany on to just explain that for a moment. And I'm going to say goodbye to you. I love you so much. I'm just wrapping you in the biggest hug. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything that you do and give. We love you with all our hearts, Urmi.
Thank you. Blessings for everybody.
Bye, sweetheart. Okay, so Urmi's going to sign off, and I'm going to see if I can bring Tiffany on. So you've got to say goodbye to us, Urmi. I can't say goodbye to you.
How do we do this? Yeah. Okay.
It should say end somewhere there. There she goes. Okay. So now, Tiffany, my love, are you there? Let's see if we can get her on. So I only want to see Tiffany request. So if everybody else could. Oh, India Ability is on. Oh my God. Wow. Hi. Oh gosh. Good morning, everybody. Let's see if Tiffany is here. Maybe she's having trouble. This is her first time going on Instagram Live. I'm going to give her one more moment. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to do something radical, and I'm going to sign on to India Ability. Hi, Laura. Oh, I'm seeing so many friends. Tiffany, there she is. Tiffany Brooke Fest. Give her a moment. She's hi, Angel.
Hi. I see myself frozen.
You're okay. I see you. You're perfect.
Okay. Okay, great. Oh, Liz, thank you so much. Gosh, what more could I add? To be honest, I went, why am I coming on again?
You're coming on to tell everybody about the, everybody, this is Tiffany Brooke Fest. She's awesome. She has devoted her life to service and to travel. And I believe right this minute you're in Croatia. Is that correct? Because you will not be stopped by a pandemic. She sent me a text and she was like, there's only a few countries in the world that will allow American visitors, and one of them is Croatia, so I'm going. You are such a relentless, tireless, brave female solo traveler, and everywhere you go, you bring love and light and volunteer work and service. And it's because of you that I was able to go to Rajasthan to that women's festival. And it's also because of you that I was able to meet Urmi. So part of this is me just saying thank you. And now tell us what you and Urmi are up to. So you've worked with New Light Kolkata for a long time, and tell us about the conversations that you're going to be hosting.
Yeah, so obviously we're just so thankful that you kicked it off because, as you know, Urmi and I are both new to IG Live, so you just gave us like a really great lesson.
You did great.
Thank you, the expert. And basically, Urmi and I had been wanting to do something where we gathered women to have intimate dialogue with her, maybe brought on some of her heroes who inspired her work. And then, of course, she's one of my heroes, and as are you. So it was sort of started as this nebulous idea, and then you said yes, and we decided to do one a month for 12 months. The idea being just that, women inspiring women, what women are doing around the planet with their compassion and their love and how they give it to others. And we just thought, with COVID happening, what a time to let's share some love and inspiration, right? Because we all need it. And so I kind of just wanted to use your platform, since you're letting us, to engage your followers and see if they might join us, obviously on Urmi's page, the New Light Kolkata page, because we'll be posting when our next conversation is. And the next one we actually scheduled a bit early. It's going to be October 13th. We're going to move it to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be with Smita Sharma, who was the photographer on the National Geographic feature that you touched on. So when you guys read it, you'll see some I want to call them beautiful images, but they're harrowing and also disturbing images. But they come from Smita, and we're honored to have her join us next. And so I sort of wanted to just reel you in with that information and give you just a little tidbit on who she is. So I'm going to read what I wrote. She's a photojournalist and visual storyteller based in Delhi. She's a fellow of the International Women's Media Foundation. She's been awarded by One World Media, which covers stories in developing countries. Her work has been featured just everywhere. National Geographic, like the one that we have this month launching with Urmi and New Light, the New York Times, Time Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, and the Human Rights Watch, which is a global movement to defend human rights, investigate abuses, reveal truth, and advocate for change around the world. So she's just another prime candidate of a woman like Urmi who's out there making a difference. And we want to keep doing these conversations and hopefully bring your followers, Liz's people, to our page and hope that you'll join us for the next one. And it's really another way to continue to advocate for New Light. You know, we really want to continue to get them funds this year and every year. So I think anything we can do to continually bring New Light to the world is important.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I'll be there listening to that conversation, and I'm going to give one last push. It's Giving Tuesday, and this is my last urging for you to donate, if you can, to New Light Kolkata, to Urmi Basu's extraordinary organization that helps some of the most vulnerable, fragile, and abused women in the world to transform lives and end the slavery of intergenerational sex trafficking. So the link is in my PayPal account, and I am just so delighted to have had this time. It's so nice to see your face, Tiffany.
So nice to see you.
And if you want,
I'm going to send you a beautiful image of Croatia just to get you jealous again. I have a new.
Well, she sent that. Wait, is it out your window right now?
It is.
Are you looking at you're looking at King's Landing, basically, right?
I switched. I was stuck in an island, and then I've just landed in a new location. I'm in an island with like the most stunning ocean view.
Come on, for those of us who are in New Jersey, let's see. Come on, what you got?
I'm gonna open the door.
Oh my God!
Come on. Could you die?
Oh Lord! Oh Lord, have mercy. That is beautiful.
So that, yeah. I landed today.
Tiffany, you are one of the boldest solo female travelers I know. When you told me about just getting a moped in India and traveling around by yourself, I was like, man, you're a boss. It's just so, I just love the way you roll. And I love that your entire financial priority in life is you don't spend money on anything except traveling and service and giving. I mean, you're such an amazing human being, and I love you very, very, very much. So I'm going to sign off now. Thank you, everybody. This has been beautiful. Thank you for the love. Thank you for joining this conversation, and let's keep going together.
Follow us on New Light Kolkata, everybody. Thank you so much.
At New Light Kolkata. And you can also follow Urmi Basu. I'll put the links in this permanent feed so that you can all see it. But blessings to everyone, and thank you so much for being part of this community of love. Okay. Take care of everything, everyone, but mostly yourselves. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye. Love you all. Bye-bye.